Hello everyone, this is Dr. Shruti Jain. Welcome to the online induction and orientation program. This program is organized by Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College, and the topic for the day is Roles and Responsibilities of a Teacher in Higher Education. It's been 2.5 months of lockdown. We have not been able to go out, we cannot go for our job, people cannot come to our place. In fact, something we knew as normal routine now seems to be a far off thing. During this time, we all, as in we teachers, are getting hundreds of messages from our students saying that classes are missed. There is this nostalgia for interactions, discussions, and bonds that we created and shared in the class. We are also getting messages from the students who are already settled in various jobs across sectors. Somewhere I think it's reassuring that we are placed in the best job, or at least one of the best jobs of the planet, because we get this immense space and opportunity to interact and be with beings who are funny, creative, insightful. At the same time, because of this immense love and respect, I think it's also pretty clear that we teachers are not only remembered for covering up curriculum or syllabus or imparting theories or discussing lessons, but we are also remembered for different performances and roles that we play in our students' life. These performances and roles sometimes are intentional and sometimes unintentional.
Now, before we start discussing our roles and responsibilities as teachers, let us take a look at the different classroom structures that have been a part of our history. Class structures that point to a gradual transformation of the institutions of higher education. If we begin talking about the modern day Indian institutes of higher education, then they have their roots in the British colonial rule. Around 1780s, the East India Company had set up the first institution of higher education in Calcutta. So, let us go to the medieval universities of Britain itself. They were something like this. Along with the classroom setup shown in this picture, if I refer to the setup of Indian Vedic education, religious lectures, or preachings of Arthashastra, we can say that there were only few books and students. And the seat of the teacher with the book was the only source of information and education. Then, with the advent of printing press in 15th century, there was an increase in the number of students and books. More people gained access to information, and many people started going to this place called library. One could go to the library and read. However, the accessibility was not easy for everyone in terms of time and reachability. Also, each and every library could not have all the published and printed books, which is a fact till date. From 1935 started the Indianization of education, and by 1960s and 70s, as countries were coming out of the clutches of colonial power, expansion of universities began worldwide. Here we can see many students studying, but still the teacher has been assigned the role of the primary information giver. The teacher standing in the front of the classroom poured knowledge. But today in 21st century, when society is progressing at a very fast pace and with many innovations in a single day, teachers will also have to learn the fact that knowledge is ever growing. And more than that, it is growing rapidly. Yes, I use the word learn. Teachers also do learn, and in fact, the best way to inspire our students is to make learning the most inspiring thing. Let the students understand that in this ever evolving world, the constant process of learning is the most significant thing. In this century, the role of a teacher has been transformed into a reflective facilitator and practitioner. Conceptualization is important, but then the students have to be guided by the teachers to learn to critically reflect on the concepts. The students have to be motivated to imbibe, accept, or even at times negate and reject the already established facts, workings, and mantras based on the known or taught concepts only after a critical reflection on the ways of workings of the outer world. Let us use the world of language to understand this. Structuralists say that the reality is communicated to us only through languages, whether verbal or non-verbal, and the languages are constructed. So whatever is communicated through language has been thought by someone. For example, when the word flower is named, an image of flower is summoned up in our mind. That means everything has been named or given a meaning. Had from the beginning we were told that flower is equal to this brown and green figure, we would have believed it. So, we can see that language has been constructed. In the similar way, when something is pointed as good, it is because we have been taught to see good in a particular way, as in something which is accepted, sanctioned, and followed. For a long time in India, only intra-caste arranged marriages were considered good and inter-caste were considered bad. That is, for centuries, we were made to see only intra-caste arranged marriages as good marriages. Dowry system was seen as a good practice. Another example could be, if I talk about physical features, the phrases like tall, dark and handsome or my fair beautiful lady were, and unfortunately in some cases are still regarded as the good characteristics to judge boys and girls respectively. The concept of language being constructed and communicating reality is important to assist students to realize that their life or reality is being communicated only in terms of language. But let them identify these constructions and their working in their lives on their own through the help of some activities. For example, you can show them advertisements where different values, linguistic phrases, and colors are used for different genders. This will help students decode or understand the language of patriarchy. That is, how patriarchy keeps the roles of men and women different and fixed.
मामा ये देखो शील्ड लेग हेलमेट होमवर्क हो गया मम्मी ये देखो
फिर दाग लगा दिया पापा ये लीजिए आपके घर जाने की टिकट हेलो या आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू सेंड यू द ईमेल इन 5 मिनट्स या गिव मी 5 मिनट्स आई एम वर्किंग ऑन द प्रेजेंट
मेरी छोटी सी गुड़िया कितनी बड़ी हो गई घर घर खेलती थी अब घर संभालती है ऑफिस संभालती है आई एम सो प्राउड एंड आई एम सो सॉरी सॉरी कि ये सब तुम्हें अकेले करना पड़ रहा है सॉरी कि जब तुम घर घर खेलती थी तो मैंने तुम्हें रोका नहीं ये नहीं कहा कि ये सिर्फ तुम्हारा काम नहीं है तुम्हारे हस्बैंड का भी है पर कहता भी कैसे है
और मेरी ग्रीन शर्ट धो देना
मैंने भी तो कभी तुम्हारी मम्मी की हेल्प नहीं की और तुमने जो देखा वही सीखा तुम्हारे हस्बैंड ने भी बचपन में यही देखा होगा घर घर खेलते वक्त वो टीवी देखने की या न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने की एक्टिंग करता होगा और तुम जैसी कोई छोटी सी लड़की चाय बनाने की एक्टिंग करती होगी उसके डैड की तरफ से सॉरी तुम्हारे डैड की तरफ से सॉरी और हर उस डैड की तरफ से सॉरी जिसने कई कई सालों से एक गलत एग्जाम्पल सेट किया पर अभी भी देर नहीं हुई इस सॉरी के साथ मैं अपनी तरफ से एक छोटी सी कोशिश करूंगा कि घर के काम में मम्मी की हेल्प करूं। किचन का किंग ना बन पाऊं तो कम से कम लॉन्ड्री में तो हाथ बटाऊं। इतने साल एक गलत एग्जाम्पल सेट किया है, अब कुछ सही कर जाऊं। तुम्हारा पापा।
Now, let us do an activity to understand how important everyday life is in the process of learning. Have a look at the coming picture and try to remember it. Now, let us try to remember and revise the picture. How many bundles of currency were there? What all denominations were there? Which colors were used for writing? How many rubber bands were there? Which denomination was the man counting? What was the color of the sponge? What was the color of the paper on which text and number were written? How many bundles of each denominations were there? How many of the asked things did you notice? Tell me, how many of the questions could you answer? Let's check the answers. Oh, the earlier picture has partially lost its relevance. The Indian society underwent a drastic change because of demonetization. We had been living in a primarily cash economy, and demonetization all of a sudden took away the major chunk of the cash from the market. When we try to teach and make students remember standardized syllabus, we sometimes forget that things are constantly changing and they become meaningful only when a student learns by connections, relation, and everyday changing reality. A teacher also has to be a strong communicator of value-based knowledge and motivate students to take charge of their learning. The class has to be student-centric. The teacher has to make students understand the significance of constant learning, which is an art of observation, reading, understanding, acceptance or rejection, and then finally change or augmentation. Now, let us assume that we have to discuss and explain the topic communication and various types of communication in a class. In order to discuss the said topic, the following exercises and ways can be experimented. You can begin with an exercise where a geometrical figure has to be conveyed to the class by two students. One who can see the class and answer the queries of the rest of the students, and the other student who cannot see the class. This exercise will help to draw attention to the importance of the cycle of communication and ways of it. To help the student understand the difference between formal and informal communication, make them enact. Ask them to write dialogues between different people in different situations. Next, for explaining the difference between verbal and non-verbal communication, conduct a debate in class. The students will come out with the advantages and disadvantages of both the types of communications on their own. Then, organize group discussions on topics like elections, syllabus, private institutions versus government institutions. Through this, the students will be able to understand the differences between debates and discussions. They will also learn the importance of outcome and how a thought can be expressed. The explanation of the difference between effective and miscommunication can start with Chinese whisper. Interviews of different people can be shown to the class. This will help the students understand the working of language and how profession, personal interest make difference in different interviews. They will also understand the differences between spontaneous and framed answers. In order to make them understand the difference between different types of speeches, make them listen to them. The importance of tone, volume, thoughts, language structure, politeness can be discussed after every speech. Leave your students with an idea, topic, or exercise. Make them active participants and not just passive observants. Plan activities that make students feel included. Contextualize the learning to the contemporary world. It ensures an engagement with the outside world, along with recognizing the significance of the topic in their life. In this process, the students will also come up with questions and bang on. This is another successful shift that you will achieve, making them think, express, and speak their understanding. Discover their individuality. Improvise with limited resources. Acknowledge the different opinions of their classmates. Show your students different perspectives. Jerk them from the mold of a single truth. Clear their misconceptions. This role, that is, the role of a catalyst, is the new indispensable role of a teacher. You are helping your students find their own thoughts and voice, which will make them stronger and confident to thrive and survive.